We're wrapping up my party right now. I'd like to thank a lot of friends that came through here, and this is what's up. My man TODD FOUNTAINE showed up, and I'm signing my book over. Power was my mentor. I'm signing a copy of it to my man TODD FOUNTAINE.
Hey Art, can you
Promoter extraordinaire. Say what?
Can you give us some what was the inspiration behind your book?
The book was written because I was mentored by Bill Cosby. I don't think anybody has ever told the story before. I literally came from, I was a regular dude, a regular comedian, and he just saw something in me. He invited me, into a conversation and welcomed me to watch the process of his show. And I took advantage of that. There were people who are part of that production who did not like the idea that he was bringing on another person who they were not in control of into the process. I don't know anything about that. All I know is this man gave me an invitation and I accepted it. And the rest is in the book because it was crazy. He was the Godfather. He had my back as long as I followed what his invitation, was all about. The rules were not written, but as a smart man, I understood what it was. Who gets an opportunity to be exposed and have access with anything by Bill Cosby? I don't know who. I got it the moment it happened. The moment he said, "You're welcome to watch the process of this show." If I were you, I would take advantage of this. Spielberg is not going to let any black kid watch what they do. And I got it. I understood. I wasn't a kid. I got it. I was like, yes, sir. I started coming every day. At the end of the whole thing, from starting as the warm-up comedian on the show to having this conversation with him after the second week of me doing warm-ups, and then being fired by the people who hired me because they saw he and I getting close. What the fuck is that all about? I had nothing to do with that. But I kept coming back. I kept coming back. He gave me an invitation to watch the process of the show. I kept coming back. The people who fired me at the meetings would look at me like I was a new dude. What's up with this guy? My thing was, y'all fired me. I'm going to keep coming back until he fires me. And he did not fire me. He loved the idea that I did not bug out over me being fired and saw his opportunity, his welcome, and I accepted it and I continued to show up. He loved that. He loved it. And I was no longer getting paid, but he paid me by being someone who understood that small written line that was not mentioned.
Okay, one more question, one last question, right? Give people a little bit about your background, right? And who inspired you to do what you did and what you continue to do today?
I come from stand-up. I cannot label anyone in particular that gave me the tenacity outside of my father. My father, a lot of people, there are some people who know, but in the grand scheme, people who don't know. My father, Art Garfield. My father, very tenacious, very smart, very ahead of his time kind of man. My father established the Associated Transit Guild back in the 60s. Nobody knows that. My father was running for office back in that time. My father, Hubert Humphrey, back in those days. My father was like this guy. He was this extra guy. But as a kid, I have no idea what he was doing. I just knew that he was a special dude. He was a very serious guy. Not a typical parent. He was very conscious, very, when he and his brothers would get together at our family, dinners and cookouts and whatever, they was always talking about some high level, above the brain kind of stuff. And I was exposed to that as a kid. I didn't get it. But through osmosis, I knew that I had a status to stand up to. And it just came, and I just knew that I was something special. I'm better than anybody else. Anybody else. Because there's no rules. So if they can do it, I can do it. It's one of those kind of things. So when this opportunity came to me, I said, you know, I can do this. I can do this. When I was in high school, I wanted to go into a media class. It was a media thing in Teaneck High School, and I was rejected from it because I was not involved with it from the beginning of the school curriculum or whatever. Because I came in from transfer, and somebody told me you can't do this because you weren't involved with it then. And I accepted it. I was cool. I was like, all right, I don't want to make no waves. When I told my parents and the taxes they were paying in Teaneck, New Jersey, and the taxes they were paying, the majority of it was for the education. They were like, no. We pay big taxes. So for the school system, anything you want to do in that school, you can do. Why didn't you tell us before? I was already out of school. I was in college now. They were pissed. So I said, I would never not allow myself to be a part of something I'm supposed to be of. And my kids with college and everything, I tell them, no, anything you want to do, you do. If you have a problem, you tell me, and we're going to make it happen.
One last question. I know it's the last question before, but it's the last question. For those who don't know, give us an idea of some of the people that you've worked with behind the scenes.
I work with, I'll make it bigger than that. When I first started doing comedy, when I was in college, I met Jeff Foxworthy, Tim Allen, Steve Harvey, Brett Butler, all these different cats who came up in the game and had their own big career moments. Steve Harvey is the one surviving of all that. Tim Allen, still surviving. And Jeff Foxworthy, great comic on the road and everything. But I know these guys from years ago. We were all young. I know all of them. When I was in college and I had a car that only had 3 speeds and wouldn't start because the battery was dead, every one of those comics pushed my car. Steve Harvey, Jeff Foxworthy, Tim Allen, they all pushed my car to get it started. I was the house MC at a comedy club in Montgomery, Alabama when I was in college. They all pushed it because they all liked me. We was all cool. You know what I'm saying? So I came up a long way. You know, so when it comes to up-to-date comics and everything, you know, it's all good. It's all, you know, relative respect. But I put Steve Harvey in his very first commercial, very first national commercial when I got into advertising. And Bernie Mac, I put Bernie Mac in his very first national commercial. These are guys who I knew we were cool with. Tony Roberts, you know what I mean? Mr. Box Office, that sitcom with him and Bill Bellamy. I put Tony Roberts in the very first commercial when I was in advertising. These are friends of mine. It was something that I knew that I could do, because I understood what the dynamics in the playing field was. I had to play the game, but I made sure that the cats who I want to get in got in. Have they done anything for me since then? Oh, you know, not yet. But it's all good. I did it out of the spirit of what I was able to do. Lenny Green, New York City DJ at one of the hottest stations in New York City, WBLS, Kissing After Dark. Lenny Green did something that was so special to me, that was totally out of the box, and he didn't have to do. But I knew Lenny when Lenny was working at an AM station in New Haven 20 years ago. So we had no problem. He was always good. When I wanted to get a job at Hot 97, one of the hottest rap stations in New York City, I called Lenny up. I said, there's an opening on this station. He said, what do you need me to do? I said, you know, I want to get on the, do you have a resume? I was like, yeah, send it to me. Lenny sent me the resume. No, I sent Lenny the resume. He submitted it to the program director that same day. The very next day, that program director, Ebro Darden, called me up, had me come in for an interview. They hired me that same day, and I rode for 2 years on that station and blazed and brought them to another height as a writer for that morning show on Miss Jones in the Morning. And that was all because Lenny Green was selfless. He was like, you know, it is what it is. Move it along. And that's what cats are supposed to do in this game. A lot of cats don't do that. Selfless.
So, in conclusion, what do you see happening with your career now and the state of your artistry and the industry that you're in as we speak?
I honestly see myself sitting next to Oprah talking about my book. Power was my mentor, because nobody has ever talked about, nobody's ever written about, nobody's ever expounded about being mentored by Bill Cosby and how he affected them in such a huge way. I don't know any books about anybody outside of Bill Cosby talking about himself and his stories. I don't know about anybody he's affected. He's affected a whole lot of people. But have any of them gone back and said, I want to document, I want to put out to the public and let them know how this man affected me, how this man moved me, how this man made me advance in my career, in my life? Nope. But I did. He was the power. And he was my mentor. And I love him for what he has done selflessly, being the big dude and the big dog that he is, and he's the man. I see myself sitting next to Oprah talking about this book. I see this becoming a theatrical event, after school special, crazy movie or whatever. That's what I see. But beyond that, even if it doesn't happen, I got so many other stories in my head that I will tell, that I will write, and that's where I see myself. I see myself, I'm a writer, I'm a comedian, but I'm a writer, I'm a creative. I have thoughts and I know how to execute it because I already proved it.
One question from me now. If you had to tell